No. 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 Fuck. You would think there'd be something here to get me out of this godforsaken pit, but no. It's just the next few controversy subjects I'm going to be tackling. And yes, these will be the actual topics. Why would I lie to you folks? I take no pleasure in lying when it comes to my content. Your trust is as sacred to me as... that's not a good sound. Huh. Oh hey, that thing's still there. Whatever it is. Well, in the meantime, let's get to those subjects I chose. I'm sure these will do wonders for my small presence on this site. Oh. Well, this is the only one that's still intact, so... fuck it, let's just do this one. Now I just need some way to access the internet so I can research. Oh!
Be bold, be strong. Let the underwear guide you, dude.
So, as I complete my descent through the atmosphere to... who knows where, let's ask the obvious question that's on your minds right now. What in the fingle-frangle frick is this game? Whenever I sit down to look up potential ideas for this show, it can take me a good-ass while to find something that piques my interest, which I feel anyone in this vein can relate to. We've always got each other's backs in this situation. Except that's not quite what happened here. Allow me to do a little recreation here. I type in the simplest terms I can think of into the Google search engine, and as Google does, it spits out multiple results. Now, there are the obvious ones you'd expect, some of which I've already covered, some of which I might never cover, and one that's just a "what the hell is wrong with you, China" situation. But my eye was immediately drawn to the last example here. Intrigued by this seemingly random selection from the Google algorithm, I thought it would be worth trying to figure out what in the fogging freckle thick is this game, and in doing so, I ended up finding a long-forgotten piece of media dating back from the old days of Windows 98 and American Pie. There isn't a whole lot to this controversy, and yet it is one of the strangest goddamn games I've ever covered for this show. And we can start with this long overdue autopsy with its publisher, Simon & Schuster Interactive. In case you weren't aware, Simon & Schuster are one of the biggest publishing companies in the States. And I ain't talking about games here, I'm talking, well, almost everything but games. Like, these fellas got their start publishing the first crossword puzzle books in the 1920s. But at some point during the halfway mark of their near-century-long existence, they started to dabble a bit into video games, and eventually dedicated a whole branch to that dabbling. Yeah, that is pretty weird, but as I've noted outside of this show, that mid-90s PC gaming market was extremely lucrative, if any of the educational software they initially published says anything. However, it would appear they got bored with that stuff, as anyone would, so they linked up with the Jersey-based developers at Hypnonics and began releasing a series of adult humor-focused games, like Deer Avenger, which is a role reversal type where you play a deer hunting the hunters. Yes, very clever, I know. And the seminal classic, Who Wants to Beat Up a Millionaire?
Ballet dancers wear what type of shoes? Feet! You know, you can get pretty far in life as long as someone keeps feeding you the right answers.
Eek! Oh, ow, oh, ouch, ouch, oh, ouch, ow.
Yeah, trust me when I say it's not gonna get any less weird from here on out. Following those two social experiments, this dynamic duo gifted our beautiful country with Panty Raider at some point in the middle of 2000. I'm not 100% sure where, because the release dates are all over the place, but that's when most of the reviews for it were published, so point. Speaking of reviews, though, I know that recently, whenever the controversy has to do with the game itself, I actually play them to see if it was warranted or not. But while the controversy here very much has to do with the content within the game itself, I opted out of doing that in favor of just watching a playthrough. Trust me, either approach would not have made any difference in determining its quality, which I'm sure you can determine based on the big brain premise these fellas came up with here. Deus Ex? System Shock 2? Nah, this is the real shit. So, 3 weird-looking and incessantly horny aliens receive some junk mail that just so happens to be a lingerie catalog. So, as any horny alien would do, they use it to satisfy their own junk mail. The material gets destroyed in the process, though, so they head out to Earth in search of more material and abduct a geek named Nelson to do this very job, lest he see the destruction of the entire planet and be probed for the rest of his life. Fallout? Vagrant Story? What Nelson and the player have to do. What Nelson and, by extension, the player have to. Oh my god. What Nelson and the player have to do, by extension. What you gotta do is very, very simple. You're stuck on an island and need to lure in a bunch of glamorous models with a variety of tools at your disposal. But you need to locate a model that fits the very specific preferences of these 3 aliens. After which you can use the provided goop material to dissolve their clothes until only their underwear remains.
Don't blow it now, man! I was talking to you, not her.
Be sure to avoid the surfer dude and the overbearing mother archetype, though. Or not. I guess. Whatever. You got 20 minutes to finish this out, or else the world blows up, and after you do this 3 times, the game ends. The bad ending is, yeah, and the good ending sees the models providing the aliens with a nice little massage, Nelson not getting probed, as far as I can tell, and then they all end up getting arrested for sexual harassment, resulting in a sentence for 90 days of community service. Looks like the only junk mail they'll be playing with is the litter off of I-95. But seriously, that's all this game offers. It has about as much substance as a GTA side quest and lasts about as long as this video will. $20, please. The operative No One Lives Forever? Yeah, watching this play out for the first time and realizing what the fuck I got myself into incited a mix of bewilderment, confusion, and shock from within my mortal coil. Like, I didn't make that American Pie reference for nothing. On the one hand, this is the exact kind of bizarre shit from this era of games I find oh so fascinating. And on the other hand, it's complete and utter trash that is so in your face, so blatant, so stupid, that even critics at the time were not particularly pleased with it. Also, it caused controversy. It caused
controversy.
Dun dun dun! Which is the least surprising aspect for this whole thing, because between the dialogue consisting of 90% tasteless and sexist jokes about models, eating disorders, and just women in general, and 10% aspirations to fuck said models.
Hey, what catches a model's eye quicker than a mirror? Nothing. Get it?
Hey, now your ass can express itself more freely.
Oops! One of my breasts deflated.
Tic Tacs. The model's meal of choice.
Get me a crowbar! One of the girls got her fucking smile stuck.
The humble toilet! The model steering wheel to fame!
She must be brain damaged.
Can your inner child come out and play?
As well as it being the year 2000 and the game being called Panty Raider, what else was going to happen? What is surprising was the source of that initial spark of controversy, a non-profit advocacy group from Minnesota who named themselves Dads and Daughters. As stated on their very old website, this group's purpose was to Inspire fathers to actively and deeply engage in the lives of their daughters and galvanize fathers and others to transform the pervasive cultural messages that devalue girls and women. So, when a fellow member sends their great leader, Joe Kelly, information regarding a video game that appeared to go against every single one of their values, they decided to strike back en masse and inspire others into burning this game to the ground. They called it shameful, sick, disgusting, and all those other fluffy words, while disagreeing with Simon & Schuster about their claim that this was for a mature audience because of the ESRB mature rating and because they said it is for mature people. They knew who this game was really targeted for. This prompted other groups like the American Family Association, the National Center for Policy Research for Women and Families, and the Center for Health and Gender Equity to join in on bashing SNS's abhorrent product. All of whom are real organizations and are not AI-generated names. I know it's starting to seem like that at this point, but remember, it's a 2000s controversy and it would not be complete without one of these organizations existing and bitching about it. In the aftermath, according to the founder, Joe Kelly, their protests had the biggest response out of anything they had ever done up to that point. I'm not too sure I agree with him claiming that the game was sending a message of, and I quote, "I'm a male, I have sex on my mind, and if I don't get it, I'm gonna kill somebody." At least in this context, but I appreciate their attempt. There was some counter pushback though, in addition to the typical response from the publisher, who really wanted us to know that it was just a joke, man. Don't take this shit seriously, man. And that would be this individual who responded to the New York Times article covering the outrage. So let's read what this man has to say. This is a landscape overpopulated with steroid and silicone pumped thugs and thugettes, armed to the pecs with high-powered weaponry. Groups wishing to stand against the deluge of entertainment that is mean-spirited, filled with pointless aggression, or just in bad taste, should realize that censorship is not the answer. People's attitudes will control the depth of this rising tide. If these games do not sell, others like them, or even worse, will not be created. I appreciate the attempt. So we've got a bizarre sex comedy game that lasts about as long as an episode of SpongeBob, including commercials, and protests originating from a non-profit organization that's slightly more unorthodox than some of the other groups we featured on this show. Surely the outcome for all this crap is just as weird, right? Well, no, not really. Presuming the ultimate goal, beyond just bitching about its existence, was to get retailers to remove it off of store shelves, dads and daughters appear to have failed in that regard. The description for one of the videos showing off this game stated that this did actually happen, but I couldn't find any articles corroborating that claim, and I found an old EB Games listing for this product that had been archived a year after its release, so the panty stars in the sky point towards it being unscathed. As for whether or not this controversy did what so many other controversies have done to other games, according to Simon & Schuster, all this appeared to do was, say it with me now, increase sales! In fact, I found a blurb from the company featured in the May 2003 issue of PC Gamer US, which had a segment listing the top 10 most controversial games of all time. Oh my god, it's literally me! Where they admitted that if it weren't for those horrified dads trying to protect their impressionable daughters, or whatever they were trying to do, Panty Raider likely wouldn't have sold the near 30,000 copies it did. I mean, if they say it's a success, I guess I'll take their word for it. Oh, and for the record, Panty Raider was number 3 on this list, being beat out by Doom and Postal, as you do, but still above games like Duke Nukem 3D, Phantasmagoria, Soldier of Fortune, and even Carmageddon, despite it not being banned in some capacity like all those other ones were. Well, since they're so sure about it, I'm gonna give this list 3 pre-rendered big-headed surfer dudes out of 10. Take that, unpaid intern! All that said, this was very much not the last of Hypnotic's and Simon & Schuster's journeys into Funnyland. as they would go on to put out what is likely their most notable title, the one I'm sure you are all familiar with and you all love, Daria's Inferno.
Hey, stop staring at me.
There's so much weird shit to explore from this era, I swear. In actuality, they went on to make the outlaw golf, volleyball, and tennis games, which by all accounts are decently regarded sports comedy titles that are actually funny this time around, and we can all thank Steve Carell for that.
Ice Tray is trying to ward off further embarrassment and make bogey.
By the mid-2000s, though, Simon & Schuster had abandoned their interactive imprint, and Hypnonics ended up getting acquired by EA, who subsequently dissolved them into their Turboron sector to work on those yearly Madden and PGA Tour games. In other tragic news, while they did outlast their mortal enemies, Dads and Daughters ceased operations in 2008 due to a lack of funds. I guess that $35 a year price tag was too much to bind together all the dads and daughters of the world. You hate to see it. Really though, I'm just worried about what happens to their website, because with a name like that, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get another... Oh, looks like the main guy just kept the domain for himself. Oh, that's nice. Now let's see what happened to the Panty Raider site. Let's see, here we go, and yep! Thank you, Internet, you never disappoint. So as I have stated, Panty Raider is a strange anomaly among so many other game controversies I've covered on this show thus far. By itself, it's a sex comedy game that's neither sexy nor funny, and has about as much value as the risque flash games you could find all over the internet a little bit later into the decade. And at least those didn't set you back 20 smackers while also having suitable material for junking your mail. Simultaneously, I am just so utterly mesmerized with how blunt and dumb this glorious piece of trash is, and it feels like it could have only happened in the year 2000. Like, for God's sakes, one of the articles about the incident references the fucking Hot Wheels and Barbie computer mess, which has nothing to do with Panty Raider, because I don't think even it could run on those machines. But that's just how 2000 this whole affair is. Keep in mind, this all happened before so many other controversies regarding sexual content in games had their turns in the spotlight. Before the Guy game, before Hot Coffee, before Dead or Alive Extreme Bounce Simulator. And yet, despite its notoriety in the day, and somehow being listed in a top 10 most controversial games list long before that format became the bread and butter of so many online gaming personalities years later, Panty Raider just popped into existence, received flack for its existence, and then disappeared into the ether. At the end of the day, the biggest lesson we can all learn from this is as follows.
Those models are crafty little anorexics.
Yo, Crappy Games Wiki! I found another target for ya! Don't play coy with me, I know you watch this crap.
Look, when you're falling from the atmosphere for hours upon hours, you gotta pass the time somehow, okay?
Ah, shit! Well, I got no choice but to just keep digging for other landmines to get me out of here. Ooh! Let's see here. Oh. Man, if those guys thought Panty Raider was bad, just wait until they see this.
Somewhere in the galaxy, a zillion miles away, a catalog full of underwear, and chick showed up one day. 3 aliens built the catalog through abnormal wear and tear, and it didn't take long till they needed more shots of girls in underwear.